You have spent your entire life believing you are in control, that your thoughts are yours, that your decisions are deliberate, that your personality is something you built over time through experience, intelligence, and choice. But what if I told you that most of what you call yourself was assembled long before you ever had a say in it? That beneath your habits, your preferences, your relationships, even the things you claim to love and hate, there is a structure you did not design, running patterns you did not consciously choose. This is not philosophy. This is diagnosis. And it is one of the most unsettling realizations you will ever face. Because once you see it, you cannot go back. Carl Jung did not spend his life trying to make people feel better. He spent it exposing what people spend their entire lives avoiding. He looked directly into the parts of the human mind that most would rather deny exist, and what he found was not flattering, not comforting, and certainly not easy to accept. He found that human beings are not driven by reason nearly as much as they pretend to be. They are driven by forces beneath awareness, forces that shape behavior, perception, and identity itself. And what makes his discoveries disturbing is not just that they are true, it is that they are operating inside you right now, unnoticed, unquestioned, unchallenged. Most people will hear this and move on. They will nod, maybe even agree intellectually, and then continue living exactly the same way, repeating the same patterns, making the same mistakes, calling it life. But a small number of people will feel something else, a quiet discomfort, a recognition, a sense that something inside them has just been named. And those people cannot pretend anymore. These are the 7 most disturbing discoveries Jung made about human nature, not because they are dark for the sake of it, but because they reveal how little of your life is truly conscious. And once you understand them, you are responsible for what you see. The first discovery: you are not the one in control. Jung stated it plainly, without decoration. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Most people hear this and underestimate it. They think it means they have a few hidden biases, maybe a couple of emotional blind spots. But Jung was pointing to something far more radical. He was saying that the majority of your behavior is not consciously chosen at all. Think about your reactions. Not the ones you explain after the fact, but the ones that happen instantly. The anger that rises before you can stop it. The attraction you feel toward a certain type of person, even when you know it leads nowhere good. The decisions that feel inevitable in the moment, even when they contradict what you said you wanted days before. That is not conscious control. That is programming. And the most disturbing part is this. You defend that programming as if it were you. You say, that's just how I am. You say, that's my personality. You say, I can't help it. But Jung would argue that what you are really saying is, I have not examined what is controlling me. The unconscious mind is not passive. It does not sit quietly waiting for your instructions. It is active, structured, and constantly influencing your perception of reality. It filters what you notice. It shapes how you interpret events. It decides what feels safe and what feels threatening. And it does all of this before your conscious mind even has a chance to respond. This is why 2 people can experience the exact same situation and walk away with completely different interpretations. One sees rejection, the other sees indifference. One sees opportunity, the other sees risk. The difference is not the situation.
The difference is the unconscious structure interpreting it. You are not reacting to reality. You are reacting to a version of reality filtered through everything you have not resolved. And until you make that visible, you are not choosing your life. You are repeating it.
The third discovery. You do not see people as they are. You see them as you are. Jung called this projection, and it is one of the most quietly destructive forces in human relationships, because it operates invisibly. You believe you are reacting to another person, their behavior, their tone, their attitude, but in reality, you are reacting to something inside yourself that has been activated by them, something familiar, something unresolved. Think about the people who trigger you the most, not mildly irritate you, trigger you. The ones who create a strong emotional reaction almost instantly. The arrogance you cannot stand, the weakness that frustrates you, the dishonesty that disgusts you. Jung would say, look closer, not at them, at yourself. Because what you react to with intensity is rarely neutral, it is charged. And that charge comes from recognition, not observation. You are not just seeing them, you are seeing a reflection of something you have not fully acknowledged within yourself. This does not mean you are identical to them. It means there is a psychological connection, a trait you have rejected, suppressed, or refused to examine. And instead of confronting it internally, you locate it externally. You judge it, you fight it, you distance yourself from it. But in doing so, you remain controlled by it. Projection turns the world into a mirror you do not recognize as a mirror. And this is why so many people feel surrounded by the same types of individuals, the same patterns, the same conflicts. They are not just encountering reality, they are encountering themselves, repeatedly, until they see it. The fourth discovery. The identity you defend is not who you are, it is who you learned to be. Jung called this the persona, the mask. And unlike the shadow, which is hidden, the persona is visible. It is the version of you that you present to the world, the one that is acceptable, functional, and socially rewarded. There is nothing inherently wrong with the persona. It is necessary. Without it, social interaction would collapse into chaos. But the danger is not in having a mask. The danger is forgetting that it is a mask. Most people do not just wear their persona, they become it. They build their entire identity around it. The strong one, the calm one, the successful one, the one who has it together, the one who never breaks, the one who is always needed, always reliable, always in control. And over time, something strange begins to happen. The real self, the one with contradictions, vulnerability, uncertainty, gets pushed further and further away, until, eventually, there is nothing left underneath the mask that feels real. This is why people experience sudden collapses later in life, moments where everything they built their identity on begins to crack. Not because they failed, but because what they were holding on to was never their full self to begin with. Jung observed this again and again. The person who lives entirely through their persona eventually becomes disconnected from their own inner reality. They lose access to what they feel, what they want, who they actually are. And when that disconnection reaches a certain point, it doesn't stay quiet. It breaks through anxiety, through impulsive decisions, through sudden changes that seem irrational to others but feel necessary to the person experiencing them. This is not random. It is the buried self demanding to be seen. The fifth discovery. You are likely living a life that is not fully yours. This is where Jung becomes especially unsettling, because he suggests that much of what you consider your path, your goals, your values, your ambitions, may not have originated from you at all.
They were inherited from your parents, from your environment, from what was rewarded and what was discouraged. You learned what was acceptable, what earned approval, what avoided conflict, and slowly, without realizing it, you shaped yourself around those conditions. You became what worked, not necessarily what was true. And Jung called this process of undoing individuation, not self-improvement, not becoming better, becoming real, stripping away everything that was never yours, which sounds powerful in theory until you understand what it requires. You will disappoint people. You will outgrow roles that once defined you. You will question decisions you thought were certain. You will feel lost at times because the structure you relied on is no longer stable. Individuation is not a comfortable process. It is a necessary one, because the alternative is to live a life that fits but never fully belongs to you. The sixth discovery. Your pain is not just damage, it is direction. Jung introduced the idea of the wounded healer, and it is often misunderstood as something poetic. It is not. It is precise. The areas where you have experienced the most difficulty, the most confusion, the most emotional intensity, those are not random, they are formative. They shape how you perceive the world. They influence what you notice, what you understand, what you are capable of seeing in others. And when those wounds are ignored, they become limitations. But when they are examined, they become tools. The person who has faced rejection deeply understands connection. The person who has navigated confusion understands clarity. The person who has endured internal conflict understands others at a level that cannot be taught. This is not about glorifying pain. It is about recognizing that unexamined pain controls you, but integrated pain sharpens you. Most people avoid this process because it requires going back into what they spent years trying to move past. But Jung's position is clear. If you do not face it, you carry it. And what you carry shapes everything. The seventh and final discovery. The real you is not something you build, it is something you uncover. After everything, the unconscious, the shadow, the persona, the projections, Jung points to something deeper, the self. Not the identity, not the roles, not the labels, the core. And here's the part that most people are not prepared to hear. You already know who you are. You have seen it in moments, in solitude when there is no performance, in creativity when something moves through you without effort, in honesty when you say something that feels true before you have time to filter it. Those moments are not accidents, they are glimpses of what remains when everything else is removed. But most people don't stay there. They return to the mask. They return to the patterns. They return to what is familiar. Because living from that place consistently requires something most people avoid: responsibility. Not for what happened to you, but for what you do with it. Carl Jung did not write to comfort you. He wrote to confront you, to show you that much of what you call your life is being directed by forces you have not examined, that the parts of yourself you avoid do not disappear, they take control, that the identity you defend may not be your own, that your perception of others is shaped by what you refuse to see within yourself, and that the real work is not becoming something new, it is removing everything that is not you. The unconscious is influencing you whether you look at it or not. The shadow is shaping you whether you accept it or not. The persona is limiting you whether you question it or not. The question is not whether these forces exist. The question is whether you will remain blind to them. Because once you see them clearly, you lose the ability to pretend. And that's where real power begins. If this forced you to see something you've been avoiding, don't ignore it. Drop this in the comments. I see what controls me. Not as motivation, as a decision, because awareness without action is just another form of avoidance. Like the video, if this shifted your perspective, share it with someone who is ready to stop living unconsciously. And subscribe, because this is not surface-level thinking. This is the work most people will never do. The question is simple. Now that you see it, what are you going to do with it?